Admiral Kethvar was reviewing routine patrol reports when every alarm on the bridge of the Hegemony flagship Dominator began screaming simultaneously. The veteran commander of 1,000 battles had never heard his ship's proximity sensors reach such a pitch of urgent warning. "Report," he barked, his forearms working frantically across the command console. "Sir," the tactical officer's voice cracked with something between disbelief and terror. "We have a massive contact dropping out of hyperspace. Distance, 50,000 kilometers and closing. Classification? Unknown, sir. The energy signatures. They don't match anything in our databases." Admiral Kethvar studied the tactical display, watching as a contact larger than anything he'd ever seen resolved into sensor range. The ship, if it could be called a ship, was 20 kilometers long and bristling with weapon systems that defied conventional understanding of physics. "Origin?" he demanded. The communications officer looked up from her station, her crystalline features pale with fear. "Sir, we're receiving an automated identification beacon. It's from the Sol system." A hush fell over the bridge. Every officer present knew that designation. Sol was the home system of the humans, the species that had been mysteriously silent for the past 15 years, after their devastating defeat at the Battle of Proxima. "Impossible," Kethvar breathed. Human military capability was eliminated. Their fleet was destroyed. Their shipyards were bombed into debris. "Sir," the tactical officer interrupted, "we're being hailed." The main screen flickered to life, revealing a human bridge unlike anything in Hegemony records. Clean lines, advanced holographic displays, and crew members who moved with the precision of a species that had spent 15 years preparing for this moment. A woman stepped forward middle-aged, wearing a uniform that bore no resemblance to previous human military dress. Her eyes held the cold calculation of someone who had learned hard lessons about the galaxy's true nature. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Federation Battleship Retribution," she announced. "To all Hegemony forces in this system, you have 30 seconds to power down weapons and prepare to surrender." Admiral Kethvar's mandibles clicked with disbelief. "Surrender? You face the entire 7th Battle Fleet. 43 ships against your single vessel." Admiral Chen's expression never changed. 29 seconds. "This is preposterous." Kethvar gestured to his tactical officer. "Show them our strength. All ships, battle formation." The Hegemony fleet moved into attack position, a sight that had broken the will of 100 species. 43 massive warships, each capable of destroying cities, arranged in perfect assault formation around the lone human vessel. "Sir," the sensor operator reported, his voice trembling, "the human ship isn't powering weapons. It's doing something else." On the tactical display, the Retribution began to change. What they had thought was a single vessel started separating into distinct sections. But instead of fragmenting, each section revealed itself to be a complete warship in its own right. "Modular design," Admiral Chen explained conversationally as her ship transformed before their eyes. "We learned a lot about efficient resource allocation during our 15 years isolation. Why build 40 ships when you can build one ship that becomes 40 ships?" The single massive vessel had become an entire fleet, each component armed with technology that made Hegemony weapons look primitive by comparison. "Still," Kethvar said, trying to maintain his composure, 40 ships versus 40 ships. Those are even odds." "Oh, Admiral," Chen replied with what might have been pity, "you're still thinking in 3 dimensions." Space around the Hegemony fleet began to ripple. Reality itself seemed to bend as more human ships materialized, not from hyperspace, but from dimensional folds that shouldn't have been possible. Phase technology, Chen explained as the human fleet expanded to over 200 vessels. "We discovered that the galaxy has more than the 4 dimensions most species can perceive. We've learned to use them all. But the true terror came when Admiral Kethvar realized what he was seeing in the long-range sensors. The retribution wasn't alone. Across the galaxy, similar contacts were appearing over every major hegemony world, every military installation, every center of power. Simultaneous coordinated strikes, Chen continued, as if reading his thoughts. 15 years of planning, Admiral. We mapped every hegemony asset, studied every defensive system, prepared for every contingency. The tactical officer's voice was barely a whisper. Sir, we're receiving surrender notifications from everywhere. The core worlds, the outer colonies, the military academies, they're all reporting human fleets in orbit. How? Kethvar asked, his confidence completely shattered. Because, Admiral Chen replied, you made the mistake of leaving humanity alive after Proxima. You thought crushing our military would break our spirit. Instead, it taught us that playing by galactic rules was a luxury we couldn't afford. The display shifted to show human shipyards, massive orbital constructions hidden in the asteroid belts and gas giant systems of Sol, protected by technology that bent light and gravity around them. 15 years of building in secret, Chen explained. 15 years of developing technology you can't detect, weapons you can't counter, strategies you can't predict. You taught us that the galaxy respects only strength, so we became stronger than you could imagine. Admiral Kethvar looked around his bridge at officers who had conquered 17 species, who had never known defeat. All of them were staring at tactical displays that showed the complete and utter impossibility of resistance. What do you want? He asked, finally. Justice, Chen replied simply. Reparations for the worlds you destroyed. Freedom for the species you enslaved. And guarantees that this kind of aggression will never happen again. She leaned forward slightly. The age of hegemony expansion is over, Admiral. Today begins the age of human oversight. As surrender notifications flooded in from across hegemony space, Admiral Kethvar realized that 15 years ago, they hadn't defeated humanity. They had awakened it. The galaxy would never underestimate the quiet species from Sol again. Because when Earth's children finally came calling, they didn't come to play by the old rules. They came to write new ones. And the galaxy learned that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one you thought you had already beaten.